Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today we have a few things to talk about. Number one, new cards. Bandai showed us some new champ pack cards that will be coming out that I think are very, very interesting to talk about, both from a competitive standpoint and just from a card design perspective. And besides that, Bandai is doing some really needed, really high quality reprints for us players. Really awesome stuff to talk about. If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys are interested in pre-ordering any of these cards or maybe buying any TCG cards in general, use my link in the description to TCG Player. It will help the channel out a lot. Let's get right into it. Alright, so we're talking about the new champ pack cards that Bandai showed us the other day. Now, here's kind of the thing with champ pack cards and promos like this, right? So they come out, they start off really expensive, especially if they're really good, right? So looking at Mecha Frieza, Bardock Riposte, that card is insanely strong, came out of the most recent champ pack, started off at $100, now on TCG Player it's sitting at about $75 at the time of recording, but actually just a day or two ago, I saw prices on TCG Player at about $40, right? So there must have been some sort of hype or price spike that caused it to go back up to 75, but these types of promo cards, as more and more events happen, they just get like really deep into circulation, and the price ended up going down quite a bit. So if you bought Mecha Frieza or Bardock Riposte super early on, that's going to kind of suck unless you're happy with getting the mileage out of the card. That's always great. But I do suspect that card, as just like most other champ pack cards that have come out, will start to decline in price as we get more events, and we already got the regional announcements for June and whatnot, so that's just gonna happen. The card's gonna be much more available as time goes on, right? So these will unfortunately start out probably pretty expensive, but they will taper off as time goes on. Now, I'm not convinced any of these cards are as good as Bardock Riposte, but I do think these cards are quite good. So we'll read through them, we'll talk about them. So we have Bardock the Eliminator with a 4-drop 19k unique blocker auto limit for 1 energy. So limit 1 is a new keyword skill they're introducing, which says basically across all copies of a card, you can only use that skill once per turn. So it's basically, if you come from Yu-Gi-Oh, it's basically a hard once per turn. So you can't combo multiple of these and pay 1, as far as I'm understanding. So if your leader card is yellow or a Bardock's Crew card and you choose one of your opponent's skillless battle cards with energy cost of 4 or less in rest mode, at the end of a battle in which this card was used in a combo from your hand, your opponent may KO the chosen card. If they don't, play this card from your drop area in rest mode. So another combo to play Bardock, not as good as Rare's Warcry arguably, but it does also offer some spot removal. The kind of weird thing about this card though is that it's up to your opponent if they want to lose the battle card or not, right? So that's a little bit weird. I almost feel like it doesn't really need limit 1. I don't know, if your opponent's playing some sort of skillless beatdown deck, or otherwise you're somehow negating their battle card skills, they get the option there once again. And plus it has unique, so if you comboed multiple of these, they could just choose not to lose their battle cards, but you could only put 1 into play. So I really don't understand limit 1 here. This might be the setup for a new Bardock's Crew archetype though, so that might make more sense as more cards come out. But the activate main here is really cool. So send this card from drop to warp, draw 1 card. So in a way, it's almost going to be like a budget Saiyan Instincts. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this effect. Not even a scratch, a black 1-drop negate from, I think it's Dropbox 5, also has the same ability. It's a regular negate, but besides that, it's got the drop area ability to go to the warp for 1 energy and draw 1 card. So you're basically getting half of a Saiyan Instincts, but that's okay. I mean, in some decks, you might only want to allot 1 energy to draw 1 card. Maybe you can't afford to pay the 2 totally. You don't want to tap out. You don't want to spend too much energy. Things like that. Now, the argument might be not even a scratch hasn't seen that much play, so how much play will this card see? Well, obviously it'll see more play if the first effect is more relevant, right? And again, I think that kind of sets us up for another Bardock's Crew deck. Now, they did make the effort to mention yellow leader or Bardock's Crew, so clearly this will be playable in the blue Bardock's Crew deck and the red Bardock's Crew deck. We'll have to see if they're planning on coming out with any other colors, maybe a yellow Bardock's Crew leader finally, so you can play Rare's Warcry in a Bardock's Crew deck. Time will tell. I find this card to be interesting, not over the top amazing, but definitely has playability given the right circumstances. Then we have Intoxicated by Justice. At first, this card was so weird, but as I've read it more and more, I actually kind of like it. So we have a 1-drop blue negate, counter attack if your leader is blue and there are no extra cards in your battle area. That really trips me up, but I guess they just don't want this being used in Blue Baby, so that's something, I guess. Negate the attack. You may choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 1 or less, ignoring barrier. If you do, choose 1. Okay, so right off the bat, you got to be thinking about Dropbox 6 silver bullets. Your opponent basically has to have a 1-drop in play for this to have effects, right? So your two options are your opponent may add the chosen card to their life face down, draw one card, then switch one of your blue energy to active mode. So right off the bat, this card is super interesting because it's a Whisk Coercion that draws a card if your opponent has a 1-drop in play. So yeah, there's that weird stipulation, and your opponent essentially gets to rejuvenate, which is also really weird. Like, that's just such a weird thing. And this is what I'm thinking too, right? So with this type of card, I guess they're looking at the, you know, Whisk Coercion drawing a card, and that does seem powerful on the face of it. Because, like, you know, think about it. Dimension Magic, you're untapping 1 less energy, but you're drawing a card in exchange. It's a pretty good trade-off, although your opponent has to have a 1-drop in play. But they also get to rejuvenate a life. Like, that might just be like the type of counterbalance they're trying to implement into this card, which is pretty weird. Your opponent also gets the choice of this, which is also more weird. But what I'm kind of thinking here is maybe there will be some Goku Black Zamasu archetype that the win con is like ramping your opponent's life up, like effects that give your opponent life, and if they, I don't know, reach 12 life, you win the game, something weird like that. Sometimes these types of cards do kind of prelude new archetypes, but the other effect is place chosen card at the bottom of the owner's deck, right? So right then and there, you have straight up spot removal for the drop box 6 silver bullets. This card could maybe see main deck play if 1-drops are popular enough in the format, which some decks do play 1-drops, so I can see that maybe being realistic. But besides that, it's cool, I guess, to have an answer to the 1-drop drop box 6 silver bullets. I do like the balancing act of Blue Baby not being able to play it, because the drop box 6 silver bullets aren't super great against Blue Baby anyway, but that deck is literally just negate, untap, untap, untap. So it's nice that that still has like that form of check and balance. But this card's really interesting. I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye on this one for sure as time goes on and more cards get revealed. Then we have Zamasu the Eliminator. So we have a 2-drop 5k, Energy Exhaust, Indestructible counterplay. Play this card, and if the card being played is energy cost of 4 or less, return it to the owner's hand instead. So yeah, on these blue types of counterplays, we don't really love to see returning to the owner's hand, but notice it says if the card being played. So this does hit unisons. Your opponent plays Baby Unison, they play Boo Unison, bounce back to hand, negate the play, pretty strong. And it's also got a check land effect, so it negates Energy Exhaust if you have another blue-yellow in play. So right there off the bat, with the next effect we'll read in a second, this pretty much instantly replaces Beerus Fickle God. It just does more than that card. So if you can get your hands on this, again, and I'm sure it'll become pretty cheap as time goes on, if you can get your hands on this card, it pretty much does replace Beerus Fickle God. So the auto here, when this card's played, draw 1 card, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. So you get the counterplay, you stop a unison, you stop a battle card, whatever the case is, and you also get to rest a threat that can attack you. So, and you draw a card on top of that. So yeah, you can always just like play it like Fickle God and draw a card at the worst and tap a guy. It's only a 5k battle card as opposed to a 15k, but everything else the card offers, honestly, I think just makes up for that in spades. Then we have Come Forth Shenron. So it looks like they're slowly but surely starting to push some wish and desire stuff back on us. You know, we saw it in Kikabora in set 13, not necessarily revolving around desires, but it is a wish leader. So permanent gains desire in all areas. Activate main if you lead a card as a Shenron card. Play up to 1 black Shenron or Shenron BR card with energy cost of 4 or less from your drop area and rest mode. So we don't have any Shenron BR cards yet. I'm assuming they'll do something with that. You know, it's going to have to obviously revolve around the Broly movie stuff. So maybe it's like another Chi-Light Wish deck with the Shenron card, or maybe it's like a Broly Wish deck, which we'll see another card in a second that leads me to believe that's the case. But anyways, this card's really good. So this is a World Peace, but only for Shenron cards. So besides whatever Shenron cards they might print, we get to bring back Shenron Figure of Majesty and Newfound Power Purunga. So these cards were basically like the Planeswalkers before Planeswalkers were really things, were ever even conceptions, right? So that's pretty cool. These cards both had very, very strong showings in different formats. Unfortunately, for more degenerate strategies, and that's a lot of times what Wish leads into, is just like, do this for free, play a big beater. In the case of Figure of Majesty, give it crit. In the case of Newfound Power Purunga, this was used to like white boards when decks were getting too aggressive for Shenron. But in modern DBS, I don't know, it's gonna be weird for Shenron decks because 1, you play a ton of extra cards. 2, you can't awaken defensively if you're being pressured, and aggro decks nowadays, while there are a lot of checks and balances, a leader that can't attack and a leader that can't awaken when it needs to on defense can struggle with that. So, I mean, we'll have to see, you know, what kind of support they push for it. But besides that, it is interesting to, you know, bring back a really strong card in the form of World Peace, but restrict it. But you're restricting it to these really powerful cards that can be reborn. So I like the balancing act there. And then we have SS Broly Evolution's Harbinger. So we have a 4-drop 20k energy exhaust auto when this card's played. Add up to 2 cards with Dragon Ball from your deck to your, or drop area to your hand, and then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So obviously some red-green support for some sort of Wish deck. Obviously, you know, we already have Chi-Lai Wish Leader, so that might be an option. Activate main for a red and a green if you have 3 or more energy. Choose up to 1 red Broly BR with an energy cost of 5 and evolve in your hand, and evolve on top of this card in active mode. So I believe the only target for this right now is full power Broly Resonant Evolution. There is a 5-drop Broly in set 13, but that card specifically says it cannot be played by skills other than its own skill. So that won't work with SS Broly Evolution's Harbinger. And I guess you can technically also play, no, I think the 5-drop Broly from the swap deck only has swap, doesn't have evolve. So you can't play that. Has to have an evolve skill. So I believe full power Broly is the only Broly that this is going to be applicable with. Full power Broly was one of the first multicolor decks, cards rather, to ever come out, right? And it did see some experimentation. There were actually some red-green Chi-Lai decks that were pretty interesting. They were just like, you know, these kind of like kill as fast as possible decks where you play full power Broly, try to get at the triple strike and all that good stuff. And then you have a Kind Wish, which is a desire that did see popularity. It did see a lot of play back during like Shenron, Height of Mastery format, things like that, where you basically get a board wipe ignoring barrier, which is a really good effect actually in this format, where you have like Violent Rush Bojack, you have like the Slug Engine, you have Poutines, you have these popular barrier cards. Kind Wish can certainly be a good card, and getting turn 4 against these decks is not the most impossible thing. So Kind Wish for free, then you're able to play Broly Evolution's Harbinger for free. At that point you're probably already awakened though, so I mean, I guess like recycling 2 Dragon Balls just lets you draw 2 cards. You don't really need it to get awakened, so that's not too bad. And then you can go into full power Broly Resonant Evolution, but that is going to suffer the same issues as, you know, other boss monsters like Broly, in the sense that doesn't have barrier, doesn't have deflect. So it could be a bit niche in a way. But again, you know, they might be printing like a new type of Wish Leader, a new type of strategy for the deck. This is a pretty early reveal for the champ packs that I don't think these are going to be released in the June regionals, but I could be wrong on that. But anyways, talking about some of the reprints, they're reprinting Normal Potential Unleashed, they're reprinting Trunks Royal Prospect, and they're reprinting Trunks Godsling Technique. Just another example of how Bandai really does listen to the community. Now keep in mind, there's Dorm Potential here, it is Winter Stamp, but that's not the reprint it's getting. These cards are all getting reprinted in event packs. Again, similar issue where they'll start off expensive, but as time goes on, they should taper off in price. And now that things are opening up again, like my state, for instance, actually today is finally like lifting the mask mandates and doing a lot more reopening. So that in mind, and with the June regionals, these cards should be a lot more accessible, a lot more quickly. So they should really taper off in price as time goes on. It's going to be nice to see that players are able to get access to these cards that have been so tough to access for so long. But anyways, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about. Want to throw Bandai some kudos. I like the new cards. I like the reprints. Really, really good stuff. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.